This week, the AMPU crew would like to honor one of their own. Friend of the pod and chosen family member of CE and Scoops, Chris McGee, passed away Tuesday after a long illness. An avid sports fan, he suited up for Eagles games with homemade beaks and became a Union fan after meeting E and me. When we last saw him, though he could only communicate through writing, he took time to share his opinions on the state of the team. He was a bright, thoughtful, and genuinely good person, and the world is poorer for his absence. We love and miss you, Chris, and wish you peace.
Welcome to amorephillyunion. We are your hosts. I'm E.
I'm C.
And I'm Paul.
And welcome to week 2. Still in the preseason. We're still ramping up here. Quick bit of housekeeping. Some things worth noting. We have a couple new international listeners. We got some.
Welcome.
Yeah, we got some first downloaded episodes abroad. We want to welcome our new fans over there in Saudi Arabia and Ukraine.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So welcome to the pod, and look forward to many, many more episodes with you guys. All right. So
I'm still always wondering how they find us. It's so cool that they download it and listen. I hope they enjoy it. I hope they keep listening, but I would love to hear from them. Like, what search did they put into the podcast world that got them to us?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Feels like the old days of pen pals, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Well, we got a couple things to get through. Some happenings this past week, kind of all around the greater Philly area. Maybe the biggest one to talk about and start with is Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles.
Go Birds.
Go
Holy
Birds.
smokes.
Did you guys watch this one live?
Yeah, we
Yes,
did.
Sir. We did.
That was about as wonderful and as comfortable a Super Bowl that Eagles fan could have hoped for. Up 24-0 at halftime. At one point, they were up 34-6. I mean, it was just just a trouncing, and it was so satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. I mean, I think going into the fourth quarter, Kansas City hadn't even scored a touchdown yet. We were going into the fourth. I don't think they didn't get their first touchdown to the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
They may have gotten the one,
maybe it was
in the third, but
okay.
yeah.
Maybe it was that was the 6 points.
Yeah, it was the 6 points that they missed the 2-point conversion on. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Their first touchdown, they went for the 2-point conversion.
Mm-hmm.
Going into that game, I have enough Philadelphia fan psychosis where I was just automatically worried. I'm like, I hope we can keep it close. I hope. And, our niece sent out the little, Super Bowl questionnaire pool. And one of the questions was like, who's going to score first? And I think I put KC first just because.
I fully did.
Mm-hmm. And man, this game, hopefully this is a sign of things to come this year, because Philly just had their foot on the gas the whole game and just never let up.
Yeah, on all three phases of the game. The offense was clicking. The special teams had an amazing day, and their defense. I mean, like Hurts had said at the end, defense wins championships.
Defense wins championships, 100%.
And I mean, they just got on top of Kansas City, and eventually they were 1 sack shy from tying the record.
Okay,
for number of sacks in a Super Bowl. They had 6 sacks.
That was my question, because I've never seen that many sacks.
And they did it. They had 1 blitz package that they dialed up in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it was the 4 linemen out of the 11 guys on the field that put all of that pressure on them all day long. I mean, Josh Sweat was playing the right side outside the guard, or the end, right side end, defensive end, and whoever he was going up against, Kansas City may as well not have been there. for
Yeah.
all the difference that guy was making. I mean, he was just bull rushing. It was so much fun as an Eagles fan to watch.
Yeah. And who got MVP? Was it?
It was
Hurts.
Hurts
Yeah.
earned it.
He earned it. But honestly, the defensive line could have also gotten it because of that defensive line. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was on his back foot, I felt like, for most of the game. Like, as soon as he hikes the ball, that clock is ticking for him to get rid of the ball because, and I think that hindered their ability to their, at least their passing game.
Yeah. I mean, up until like towards the end of the game with that dime pass to Devontae Smith, like you could have seen Josh Sweat actually winning Super Bowl MVP. But you're right. I mean, Hurts earned it for sure. But that was just such a satisfying game to watch and just to see the Eagles just totally dismantle Kansas City. And one of the concerns, people were talking about beforehand are how are the refs going to show favoritism towards Kansas City? And, I'm not claiming that they did it, but I'm just so happy that the Eagles just took it out of everybody's hands. It's like, no, we're just going to go up by 24 by halftime and we're not going to, we'll give you you'll get 22 points at the end of the game, but it will all be in garbage time. And
it'll be too little too late.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was really nice that I think you even said this, that, it was really nice it didn't come down to a call or a series of calls or something like that.
Yep.
But I think just before the game, I saw a very brief interview with Rob McElhenney, and I think he has a little bit of the Philly mentality too, because they were asking him like who he thought was, how he thought the game was going to go. Basically, he was like, well, the Eagles are going to win, but I think they'll win by like some very small margin. I want to say he said 4, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but okay, but probably 4. And they'll have to figure out a way to stop Mahomes. That's going to be the hard part, is figuring out a way to stop Mahomes. I'm not saying he's wrong, but they figured it out, apparently.
Yep, they absolutely figured out how to stop Mahomes.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel bad for the guys when they're on the sideline for the Chiefs and they're all looking sad. I honestly did. But man, the Eagles sideline just looked like a party from like the last quarter. Like they were they were keeping their cool, but they looked like they were playing and they were having fun.
Yeah. It was funny too. There's the first few field goal attempts from the Eagles, either straight field goals or the extra point. And I feel like every time something would happen during the play, there'd be a 5-yard penalty and they have to move it back. So it just became like, we only know how to score field goals from an extra distance. We whatever, 30 yards, whatever, that's just too close. We got to move it back, I
saw an infographics. The Eagles apparently set a postseason record for points scored in a postseason this year. And Jake Elliott, their kicker, scored 43 points in the postseason.
And I think even in this game, how many of was it 40 points, 40 to 22? I think it was something like 16 points or something that was scored by Elliott or something.
Well, let's see. I mean, Hurts had the first touchdown.
Yeah.
Then AJ Brown had a touchdown. Cooper DeJean had a touchdown. Devontae Smith had a touchdown. That's 4. Who got the last touchdown? Or did they actually score that many field goals?
Because there were a couple 3-pointers.
There were at least 2 field goals at the end of the game. But I mean, Jake Elliott, he's a really good kicker, but he had been struggling through parts of this season, and he was just automatic all night long.
Yeah,
it really was.
And Christy, we were even talking before the game, just the general vibe, like around neighborhoods and stuff like that. It just this game felt more in the zeitgeist of everywhere we went. Like, we saw more flags. We saw a lot more green front porch light bulbs. We saw, a lot more just green everywhere. I just felt like there was just this quiet rising tide of Eagles like fanaticism just everywhere. And it almost felt too good to be to I
bought my first ever Eagles shirt. Yeah. If you don't count my Jason Kelsey shirt.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
But it was
such a I don't know. I want to say storybook ending, but like you said, Paul, it was as an Eagles fan, a Phillies fan, it was so nice to watch a game and be like, it's just high fives all the way down, you
It
know?
was the ending you secretly hope for, but usually
Yeah.
don't get.
Yep. No,
Although
yeah,
I don't know about you guys, I did get a little nervous there in the fourth quarter when Kansas City started scoring. I'm like, no, we can't. I mean, one field goal or one touchdown, okay. Two, all right. It's like, guys, we need to put a break on this. Like, we can't, I knew the clock was really running down, but I was just there's a little part of me, the little devil on my shoulder popped up and it was like, do you really think you're gonna win this?
That was the years 2010 to 2017.
Yeah.
And also the MLS final from 22.
Yes. It's just forever it will be a thorn of doubt in my psyche.
That devil was shaped like Gareth Bale.
Yeah. So
that was very fun.
Yeah,
it was a good time.
Well, I guess in sports news, that's kind of the parody for this week. Yes, about the best it's going to get. Because now let's bring it back to soccer and the Union. So they had a preseason game Saturday, I believe, against Union in Cincinnati. Before we talk about it, I just want to point out that we recorded last week. I think it was Thursday night as well. Was it Thursday? Yeah, it was Thursday night.
It was. Mm-hmm.
And we made a comment about like the Union playing all these games. And then Paul, I think, even said it like something like, it'd be nice if there was a way we could watch these games. And then I got an email Friday morning saying, like, hey, or Friday afternoon, you check out the Union playing, whatever, Cincinnati tonight at 5:30. I'm like, oh, someone at the Union must be listening to our podcast. So
maybe.
They got Trevor the Intern back.
Trevor.
So I forgot we have that guy running around somewhere.
Yep.
So, all right. But yeah, so it's preseason. It doesn't really matter. So that 4-1 loss doesn't really matter at all. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't. I remember like last season, the season before, just, Curtin just experimenting with new lineups and whatnot. And, that's kind of why you have preseason, but
yeah, it doesn't exactly inspire confidence.
Exactly.
But
the game still gets played.
Yeah.
You still want your players to actually show up and make use of the time. Hopefully they learn some things, but that's tough to hear that they gave up 4 unanswered goals after scoring the first one. I did see the recap highlight of Glesnes, heading in a corner kick from Wagner. But I came to learn that was the opening goal, and that was pretty much the end of the highlights for the Union in some ways.
You think Glesnes is going to be extra on guard this year to not score own goals?
Own goal. I hope Glesnes comes out swinging this year. Proverbially swinging. I'm glad he scored. I'm glad Wagner's setting up nice corner set pieces. But 4 unanswered goals. I don't know. Again, it's preseason. You really can't say much.
It's a little disappointing, but don't put too much stock in it, I think, is maybe a quick summary. I don't know.
And it was a 120-minute game.
Yeah, so. That's the other thing too.
That feels like something new. Like these,
it's a preseason thing. Yeah,
and I know they're giving them like so they can do a lot of subs and more time to play. And it's an interesting idea. I just never seen that before. At least not regular time.
I think they did it once last year, at least once. It's not common, and they definitely have to have an agreement between the teams to do that. But I know both pretty much all the teams at this point have probably done their preseason conditioning training. So now they're really pushing their players to learn the systems that they want to play, and they want to give as much time to the starters and to the backups as they can. So it'll be interesting to see if the Union do this again with any other preseason matchups. Although they only have 2 weeks until the season starts, so they not a lot of time.
I can't believe the season's only 2 weeks away.
It's crazy.
We're close enough that they have already announced their new kit.
Yeah, the what's it called? The voltage kit or the volt kit?
Something like that. Yeah, sounds right.
It feels like they had leftover color fabric from the Simpsons kit, and
A
they
little
just,
bit.
you know, and they're like, oh, we'll just rearrange it a little bit, and no one will be the wiser.
Well, it does bear a relationship to that other kit that was so popular too, with the little mini yellow bolts, right?
True,
2 kits
true.
ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jury's still out for me on it. If anybody's looking for my opinion.
It's their away kit, and it doesn't have Bimbo on the front of it. So
Oh yeah, it has Thomas on
true.
it. I'm looking at it right now.
That's true.
Yeah,
So we'll take that.
I like it.
I do like that they have their alternate kit that doesn't. I mean, no offense to Bimbo. I'm sure it's a fine bakery and it's a fine company, but it's an unfortunate name in the United States. I get that Bimbo's not as popular a slur as it used to be, but still,
Yeah.
I think it's a smart idea for them to use one of Bimbo's product lines as the alternate. I don't know if I prefer Thomas's as much as Artisano. I think Artisano's a cooler name, but at the same point, Thomas's is a better known product line.
For me personally, and I get why they use those colors 100%. I do prefer that to just like a white jersey, like they did for a few years, but or some light color. But it's a color combination I just don't like. But I know why they do it, and that has nothing to do with
paler
anything.
Blue you're talking about
with the pale yellow. It's just a little bit not. I don't know. Somehow I actually like the Simpsons version better because it had more tan in it. So it's like either go bold yellow or but this sort of light yellow with the blue. I don't know. It doesn't exactly inspire a fear. But it's interesting, and it'll probably grow on me because I didn't care for the lightning bolt one at first either, and I got to like that over time. So I imagine, I'm sure I'll be talking out of the other side of my face at some point.
Well, it is still harkening back to the Swedish flag colors, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I that's why I say I know why they do it, and I appreciate that very much. But I don't know if you've seen the new Keeper kit. I actually very much approve
the purple,
that.
Purple black one, the Starscream kit.
Yeah,
yeah.
I kind of super dig that actually.
Yeah, their purple kits. They had a purple kit last year for the Keepers, but it was a paler purple, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Nate picked one up. He liked it. But I think you're right. I think this purple kit is much more interesting looking.
Yeah, it's a cool color. I think it just really pops in all settings. So approve of that. But nobody's looking for my approval. So that's fine.
So if you had to buy one, if you were going to buy one of them, which one would you buy? The Keeper kit?
Keeper versus the other one?
Yeah.
Sitting here right now, I'd buy the Keeper kit. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
I will say this. I am liking this Volt jersey initially better than I did the last year's Simpsons jersey, or 2 years ago, whenever the Simpsons jersey was. I mean, I do like the Simpsons jersey too, but I'm liking the Bolt one better. Oh, I see. All right, yeah, that's pretty cool.
The Keeper shirt you're looking at now.
Yeah, the color's cool, but I like the pattern. It's like I don't know. It's kind of like the way the screen gets a little pixelated when you would go through like a monitor on the Matrix. It just reminds me of something cyber looking. That's cool too.
Hold on, I have to get my movie reference tally going. So Matrix 1.
Yes.
Well, I already made a Starscream of the Transformers reference.
True.
I didn't get that one. Sorry.
Yeah, I see the Starscream.
The blue, the purple, black.
All right, so let's see where we are by the end.
Yeah.
So I think Matrix, they call that a more rare effect or something like that. Light stuff. No, I do think that they did a good job with them this year. I am curious if they'll do a third kit, another third kit next year. I still hope they go back to the Bethlehem steel kit. That was
such a great kit.
I don't know that anybody who follows the Union that doesn't consider that like one of their top 3 Union kits of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was such a
and yet I don't think they will, because unless there's like an anniversary or something, because of the that's, I think, led to the kickoff of the farm team
Yeah.
that then became Union 2.
Yeah.
Which boo
Yeah.
moving from Bethlehem, but we'll see. I want to be wrong about that though, because I very much.
But now we get to see all the guys wearing the new gear soon enough. 2 weeks out,
Yeah.
they on the field in new kits, sporting their new numbers.
Yeah.
And speaking of new numbers, go ahead.
Yep. Ty Baribo is now number 9 from number 28.
Number 1 in your hearts, number 9 in your programs. Yes, that's a replacements reference.
Thank you.
Yeah, mark it, Christy.
Got it.
Number 9 in your programs and number 1 in your hearts.
That's it.
A 3-way tie going so far.
Yeah. So I guess this means, if you're number 9, you're going to be starting. For the most part.
Right.
And
I
think it's a deserved number assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now he's just got to make sure he puts it in the net like he had been doing last season.
Just keep up that 2 goals per game scoring.
68 goals.
We're not
No
asking
pressure.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good for Ty. Finally, getting some recognition there.
So it's just keeping track here. So Ty gets number 9. Bueno now has number 8. So
The Ocho.
the Ocho. Oh man, why didn't we?
How did we miss that?
How did we miss that? So that's dodgeball, but the Ocho. Okay,
Points to Christy for that one.
I think she might be in the lead here.
The Ocho.
Ocho.
Oh, I'm not keeping track of who's saying them. Just what movies are referenced.
Yeah, but
that was a good dig.
The Ocho. Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then some new players, at least not new to the Union organization overall, but new to
contracts.
The first team. That would be Frankie Westfield and Eddie Davis III, both from Union 2 and both homegrowns.
Cool.
Yeah.
So definitely keeping with that, we want to use our young whippersnappers on, the main team. The first team, I guess would be a better way to say it.
Yeah.
So
with all of these homegrowns that now are on the roster, I don't expect to see them for the first month or so of the season, but I am curious how much Carnell's going to use them in the main season games. Obviously, if they're playing in the U.S. Open Cup or some alternative competitions, that's a great opportunity to use some of the younger players. But I do wonder, because we kind of knew what Curtin would do. And when he was making subs, he would make subs in the 60th minute, the 75th minute, maybe the 90th minute, depending on what was going on in the game. Like, we're going to get a chance to learn a whole new coach's approach here and see how much time does he give to these young players. It'll be interesting to find out. I'd ask for a guess, but I know in your cases, you would be completely pulling numbers out of the air like me.
Well, and I think too with Jack McLean's $2.1 million transfer, former academy product, that whole thing, just lending more momentum or weight behind Tanner's strategy of just doing everything out of the academy system. Yeah, I fully expect these players to get time on the field.
Yeah.
Well, and just, on top of it too, not to discount their own talents, but how beholden does our new coach feel to Ernst to follow that? We have to play our new players. So does he feel like his hand is forced a little bit to make sure they do get on field time, at least unless he does use them and they don't perform? Then I think he has more leverage to set his own agenda. But I think at first he's going to kind of have to follow some guidelines that have been set out by other people. That's just the feeling I have.
Yeah. With nothing to go on, I agree with you as well. And I think he'll probably start off, especially towing to whatever line Ernst sets as far as young players must play at least, 10% of the game time or something like that. And I'm curious to see how much time they get, and I'm curious to see which ones of them take real advantage of that.
Right.
Yeah, I think that'll be the interesting, an interesting question to answer. Which one? But I do remember during the one press conference, Carnell saying basically, if a player produces, I'm paraphrasing, but if a player's producing, they get field time.
Right.
He wants to make it a competitive environment for to get to start or to at least get a sub in, and so is kind of not worried about, to a certain degree, not worried about if you're a young player versus a senior player. It's kind of like if you're producing, you're going to get time on the field. So
Right, a
we'll
bit of
see
a
how.
meritocracy.
Yeah, exactly, and we'll see how that dovetails with our supposed strategy from Tanner. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be easy. It'll be interesting to see if that work pans out and if they're able to pivot if it doesn't bear fruit in the way that Ernst seems to think it will. So I would be watching for that for sure.
Yeah, and one of the concerns I have is how quickly will they grab a hold of their opportunities?
Right.
Because while some players like Harriel and McGlynn seem to settle in to the level of competition at MLS pretty quickly, like Quinn Sullivan took 2 or 3 seasons before he really stepped in and had the breakout season that he had last year.
Mm-hmm.
And, definitely expect to continue to see him grow. Does Frankie, if Frankie has a rough outing this year, a couple of outings this year, is he going to get extended time next year and continue to get an opportunity to grow? Obviously, right now, everything is very, very unknown. And
we're just guessing, really.
Everything is very speculative. But I certainly hope that they get their opportunities, and I hope that they take advantage of it, but I hope even if they don't manage to take advantage of it, that they continue to get some opportunities.
Yeah.
Because you hate to see some of these guys that never really get off the launch pad. And maybe it's because they're just not ready to play at this level. That's certainly possible. But sometimes they just need more opportunities to really.
Yeah. Matt Real, I feel like he just never got the time you needed.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he went elsewhere and he did well. So hopefully,
100%.
Hopefully he will continue to do that. But,
absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and it's easy for me, I'm speaking for myself here, to forget that we do actually, it seems like we don't, but we do have quite a few veterans coming back. So they're not just going to
absolutely.
shuttle them off to the
flies
side
out there.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And we have some new signings, some new players who have come in from overseas. Like, Danley never really got going last year. He looked good in a couple of outings that he was here.
Yeah.
And then there have been other. I'd have to pull up the roster list to see everybody, but there are some additional non-academy players that we are going to be learning about this year.
Sure. We got a couple of new signings too, right? As you mentioned, Paul. It'll be interesting how they fit in.
2 weeks from now, we'll be able to talk about them in game.
Not even. I just pulled up the schedule. February 22nd. It's a week from Saturday, guys. We got a week to get our act together. So
good luck.
A week. It's an away game in Orlando. But not this Saturday, next Saturday. Holy cow.
Did we want to talk at all about the unions? What do they call them? The special night announcements that they put out there. They announced all the different themes.
Oh, the home games.
Oh, right. Yeah. Hang on. Please hold.
We can do that if you want.
We can do that. I didn't. Okay. So highlights of the theme nights include You Serve and Dollar Dog Day.
Yes. That's the best one. Too bad it's not versus St. Louis City. Oh, man.
St. Louis is the Irish Heritage Night.
Heritage, March 22nd. So Dollar Dog Day is what, the 16th of March? Irish Heritage is March 22nd versus St. Louis City.
I think we need to go to that, even if we don't get the tickets for that. I think we need to try to go.
Yeah.
I do remember taking our Nate to a Dollar Dog Night. and he put a few away when he was a bit younger.
They
And I
lost- they
posted
lost
a picture
someone.
during the game, and Paul's wife Jen was texting me like, "Is that child eating? He had a full dinner before he went." Yes, yes, he is.
Sounds about right. That's what you
Yeah.
do on Dollar Dog Night.
Yeah, it's Dollar Dog Night, man.
You take advantage of that.
Yeah, man.
That's right, especially at the stadium.
You make them regret having Dollar Dog Night.
I love that there's a
It's me.
Delco night. That's awesome.
I kind of want to do that. So yeah, so does look like nearly every home game has something going on, which is nice.
Yeah.
Military appreciation, like you said, Delco night, Pride night, Unity night, Rivalry night, Fiesta Hispana. I don't know what KCC is?
Childhood cancer.
Oh, childhood cancer. That's right. I did, and I just read that too. And Fang's birthday.
Fang's birthday.
Double header on that one. And you thank you. I think that's typically what they do for the last game anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But
Nice.
yeah, so lots of fun to be had. Well, maybe one of the more important nights that we can call out is Delco night is also the Philadelphia Union Foundation night.
Oh, cool.
So that is that's a nice pairing because they do a lot of work around Delco with young people there, whether it's school related or sports related. They do a lot mental health related. So definitely one to put on your card if you can make it, and support the foundation, as we are often promote supporting the foundation. That's one I'd like to call out.
Switching from theme nights to other, to other news around the league. That was an interesting post that came out. Was that earlier today or yesterday?
Earlier today. It was announced last night.
Guardian.
I think it was announced last night to like stakeholders in the USL, I believe, or with the USL, but it was announced publicly today, I think. Anyway, the USL League is starting its own Division 1 league.
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit that I don't fully understand. I mean, I get it, but I don't understand how this is going to work. I don't know if anybody does. It's early days. It's set to launch in 2027, so I guess we'll have to see. But that is at the same level as MLS.
Yeah.
The spokesperson for USL basically said that they feel like there's a lot more room in this country for more teams than MLS has. They were comparing us to Europe and how we have, is it 30 teams now? I've lost count in MLS.
Yeah.
Thank you. 30 teams, and Europe is the same size and they have 400 or something. And it's like
right,
couple nuances you're missing.
Sure.
With that. But okay, sure. Not that they're wrong, but a little bit different. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, if that becomes one of those footnotes to history, or if it takes off. It is interesting, the little bit I read about USL, because I truly admit I don't know a lot about it. But it, in my head, like the way I explained it to myself was it's a little bit more like the open source league. Like, yeah,
it kind of is.
Because like they choose what they focus on. They choose like how professional they're going to be, or if they're going to be a feeder team for something. It's just each team sets up its own rubric of how it's going to operate.
Yeah.
I'm sure within a set of boundaries and rules of participating in the league. But would that stay in a Division 1 version? I don't know. Or would it eventually formalize into something resembling another MLS? But it's an interesting concept for sure.
I don't think so, because I don't think so. My guess, it would not be like another MLS. And I'm kind of jazzed by this idea. I don't want to shoot MLS in the foot here by launching a potentially competing league. Although one of the first quotes, I think, in his article from the USL president, Paul McDonough, like, this is not to compete with MLS. However, it does feel a little bit like what the Premier League did back when the Premier League was formed, because it was the top flight league was the Championship League, and then they made this Premier League that was kind of the crown on top of everything. And so this Division One league that they're launching is kind of this crown league on top of the USL. But reading this article, and again, just doing a little bit of internet looking around, yeah, the USL, I didn't realize how much of a ladder system it is. Not a ladder, but it spans everything from youth leagues all the way up to their top flight league, which now they're proposing this Division One, which is they're looking for a complete span of ability levels and everything, which is really an interesting it's an interesting endeavor to be able to not just like, oh, we're just the top flight and then we let somebody else handle it. They kind of want what's the phrase, vertical integration, right? They want from soup to nuts. But Christy, what you said earlier, yeah, they have this independent model where each team is allowed to have basically their own business plan. So I wonder if that means like no salary caps, no designated player caps. Like I'm wondering, like if you have a team, you're free to manage your finances as you see fit. You're free to organize your team as you would like. I don't know if it means it's that open-ended. But the third point I want to make that kind of dovetails this all together into kind of like it feels like a European style system is one of the questions he was asked was, are you going to, with this Division One on top of which was their top division, USL Championship, are you going to start looking into relegation and promotion? And he said, like right now, the way the country these teams are spread out across the country, it doesn't seem to warrant that, but they're not. If opportunities present itself, they would consider doing it, which would be really interesting.
That would be interesting. That would definitely set them apart.
There is a pros and cons for the franchise system. Paul, we talked about this. You mentioned this last week, how I was looking at the numbers, coaches, Peter Novak, John Hackworth, and Jim Curtin, the percent wins, right? And compared to like Alex Ferguson over in the Premier League, he just blew the doors off. But you wisely pointed out, well, the parity in Premier League is not the same as it is here in MLS. With the franchise system, so many teams have the same baseline finances. And as a result, teams, while you may come in last one year, you could win it all the following year. Of course, that can happen in any league, but I think it's more likely in these franchise setup leagues. But I was very interested in this article and this idea.
Well, I mean, it certainly seems to lean into the idea that there's a lot of people with an awful lot of money that are willing to spend it on sports franchises.
Yeah.
It's not just. I'm not just talking about Rob and Ryan buying Wrexham, but I mean, like LeBron James has a pickleball team. Like there are people who are willing to invest in sports franchises, and if they see them as an opportunity for investments and to turn a profit, there could be some oil baron who'd come in and buy whatever equates to the second or third level, or even the top level of USL league, and just stocks it full of high level players, and just runs away with the competitions, every competition. I mean,
which is very European.
If this team ends up, playing in, World Club, like that would be a lot of money that the company that owns that team could be bringing in if they consistently win that sort of a competition or get into that level of competition.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you have Boise, Idaho hosting Real Madrid. You heard it all. You all heard it here first.
Yeah, and that's Paul. That related to that. That's one of the things I liked in this article. The fact that the U.S. is geographically so big, there's plenty of room, and in particular, he was the president, Paul McDonough, was talking about how there's a lot of room still in like middle America and these smaller communities, and it would be really cool to be like you said, Boise, Idaho, like getting a team and someone deciding like
much love, Boise.
Yeah,
just saying.
Yeah.
Well, think about it.
We want to get in on the ground floor with Boise.
It's a sport that all kids start with. I mean, I shouldn't say all, but most kids start with because it's easy. It's a ball in a field,
Yep.
you know, and if nothing else, 2 cones to kick them through, you know, if you don't even have a net. It's like here it's treated like the starter game to learn how to play other games, you know, and you have these little bits playing out there playing, you know, swarm ball and all that kind of stuff. But like then, you know, the way it has traditionally been treated here, I think less so now, but like it was like that was it. And then you graduated to real sports. You can't see my air quotes, but you know, whatever else that would be. We're some other team sport that tended to be more popular here. But I think there's a lot of opportunity for that to change a lot. So, you know, and you know, I know that's not what they're talking about here, but it does. I think that all does filter down. It'd be interesting to see what happens.
And they've got 2 years to build something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know what their requirements are going to be a club that qualifies. Are they going to insist on soccer specific stadiums, certain size? You know, what the structure of the ownership group must be. You know,
they kind of did give a kind of a skeleton list of requirements. Like, so investors have to be like the main investor has to have at least like 10 million in whatever revenues, 30 something percent minimum stakeholder in the team. I think the stadiums need to be able to seat about 15,000 people.
Wow.
They're really gearing us up because I think they said last year's USL championship final had like 500,000 viewers on CBS, I think. And it was like one of the largest USL viewings like in history.
I think it's the first time it was televised.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So
and I gotta wonder, like teams like, you know, Sacramento is finally like, you know, they were on the cusp of coming into MLS and probably see this now as an opportunity to kind of a new path to kind of get their you know, increase their footprint in U.S. soccer.
If there is a fan base deserving of it.
100%.
Yeah.
And if if they are forming teams in this USL league, would those teams have the opportunity to move to MLS if they wanted to? How would that look? You know, that's a question that's going to have to be hammered out. Is that a bad thing for, you know, if a team comes up in USL, do they make some sort of an agreement that they will not join MLS? Or if
for a certain window,
is there a welcome switch between the leagues? I don't know. There's certainly a place for it. It's just interesting because like MLS has been around now for 25 years, 30 years. Yeah, it was
1996 was
30 next year.
Yeah.
So 29.
And so like to see an upstart league, for lack of a better term, is pretty amazing. I mean, I can't imagine anybody forming a league to take on the NBA or the NFL or an NHL. I mean, you know, the Savannah Bananas are playing. They don't play baseball; they play banana ball because technically their rules are different. It's kind of like, you know, the Globetrotters don't. You know, they couldn't play in the NBA because they don't play by the NBA rules. But these guys, they also kind of make it more of an entertainment thing. It's, you know, it's sport. It's sport at a very, very high level, but it's also about the entertainment. Like this sounds more like they really want to just straight up compete from a sporting aspect with MLS as well.
By saying that they don't want to compete, but it's really hard because they're even talking about trying to get looped into Champions League,
right?
You know, and yeah, it's interesting. I was wondering too, like, you know, like your Don Garbers and stuff like that is, you know, is this a threat? But it's also an opportunity because in some respect, the USL is doing all the market research for MLS right now in the sense of they're going to be, you know, with this new league, there's going to be more teams popping up. And, you know, Don Garber, getting to your point, Paul, might see like, wow, Boise is really drawing a crowd and they, you know, with a bump up to MLS, it could really blossom into a quote unquote top flight team. I mean, I don't see how this is not a challenge to MLS, but I can also see it is an opportunity in that, like, MLS doesn't have to just guess and or do research and or hope that the next city they bring in will succeed when they already have a Division One USL team that's pulling in, 18,000 players or fans per game. Okay, we already know it's a proven market. We'll just, quote unquote, buy them to bring them into MLS. But the thing is, we're already at 30 teams. I don't know how many more teams we can comfortably bring in and still have a single league without splitting now into like NFL leagues, like, Central East and, I'd like to see the MLS stay as one single league. But who knows?
I wonder if by saying they aren't competing with MLS, if the subtext there was more, that's not our first goal. Our first goal is to get our, our own Division One league set up. And if that, by doing that, it competes with MLS or gives MLS any heartburn, that's fine. But, and it may not be a bad thing to compete for MLS to have some competition. I don't know. It's weird because my first thought when I read that was, how can they do that? Because I'm so used to being in a country where we have the NHL, we have MLB, we have, NFL, and that's it. And that's all. I mean, I know there's other programs and whatever, but as a casual for pretty much everything but soccer, like those are the leagues. That's it. That's the national version of playing the sport. And so it's just strange to me, like, how can they do that? We have that already. It's called MLS, but, part of being a sport that's still, coming together in this country is
sport of the future since 1972.
I know, but it does make it a little more interesting as long as it doesn't end up toppling everything somehow, it's not, which you never know. But I don't know. I mean, we're just gonna have to see what happens.
I think it's
interesting.
I think it could only happen with soccer because it's not such a dominant sport here in this country, and so there's room for another kid on the block. So we'll see. My other big question, and this is for Christy, and that is, so what league will Hearts of Pine be in?
Look, I was thinking about that right off the bat.
For those of you who don't know, the Hearts. So was it Portland, Maine? Is forming.
Portland, Maine has a new team. They're just starting out this year. I don't even think they've played their first. Well, I'm sure they haven't played their first game yet. But it's called the Hearts of Pine, and they have fully gotten me with their marketing, their colors, their "Lead with Your Heart" logo,
it's so
slogan. Good. It's so good. Also, like, I'm at heart a New Englander. For no particular reason. But it's just here, take my money. Hearts of Pine. I haven't ordered my hoodie yet as I'm trying to resist, but it's probably not gonna hold out that much longer. But I don't know. Right now
Day is coming up. So.
There's so many cool backstories. I can't even stand it. But it's very good. And then I also have Vermont Green, but they're in another different, much smaller, 2 steps above college league So I can still like all my teams right now as it stands because they're not playing each other.
They're not conflicting.
Exactly.
Exactly. When that, I might have some decisions to make depending on what goes on in the future.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard call when Hearts of Pine are going in against the championship game against Boise.
I am not at heart a Midwesterner, not yet. So we'll see. St. Louis notwithstanding, but
oh man.
So.
All right, so let's we'll wrap up. Anybody have anything else they want to?
No, just, man, the season's coming up fast. Looking forward to it.
All right. If you would like to join in the conversation with us, you can find us at our website, amorephillyunion.com. Drop us a message, anything. What do you think the season has in store? What you'd like to see? Thoughts on whatever. You can do that at pod@amorephillyunion.com. Instagram, YouTube, Threads, Bluesky. We are a More Philly Union. we'll be adding to our Spotify playlist, which, by the way, did we add a song last week to the playlist? Was it the Kelly Clarkson song, or Since You've Been Gone?
I didn't, but I could.
Because I figured that was
Yeah,
the
I did not yet, but I will do that.
Okay.
I will do that.
You got to go dig up one of those terrible Philadelphia Eagles songs from like the 80s and 90s that like they did what was the one with Buddy Ryan? Buddy's Watching You or something like that.
Oh my gosh!
Like when the Chicago Bears did the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Yeah.
I mean, you could also actually put a good song like one of Kelsey's Christmas carols, but I'm just saying, Buddy's Watching You might be a fun throwback.
Well, if we do that or something, feel free to check it out. It'll be on our Spotify playlist under A More Philly Union. Just look for the little music notes on the logo. And keep getting our podcast where you get yours. We're on all the podcasters out there. And while you're at it, go show some love to one of our favorite forces for good in the world. That is the Philadelphia Union Foundation. Check them out at philadelphiaunionfoundation.org. So thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of A More Philly Union. We are your hosts. I'm E.
I'm C.
And I'm Paul. Go Union! Enjoy the parade!
They really need to introduce an arm wrestling feature on Teams. Because I had a few things that would have been solved by that this week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, little mini Mike Tyson's punch out that you can each take somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Or knockout. Mike Tyson's, what was it called? Mike
Tyson's punch out.
It was punch out. Okay, it sounded wrong when it came out of my mouth. Yeah, all right.